We all have an intellectual and an emotional mind, and our stress levels will determine whether we're dominant intellectually or dominant emotionally. And we don't actually get to decide whether we're intellectual or emotional, or to pull ourselves in or out of a situation. Our hormones make that decision for us. And when we realize that it's our hormones that are in charge, we can focus on adjusting the hormones to adjust where we are dominantly behaving from. So our intellectual mind is you on a good day. You're positive, you're motivated, you're energetic, you're making good decisions that stick. You're using your vast library of resources to come to good conclusions. Your emotional mind is a different place altogether. Your emotional mind has no conscious intelligence. It doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It is predominantly negative. It has to be for survival purposes. It has to assume that the worst case in every situation to keep you survived. It is where your stress hormones are triggered and driven from. So you on a good day, nice and positive, intellectual. On another day, you're in your emotional mind, you're negative and irrational. So what can we do to make one more dominant than the other? Well, the first thing is to realize that we respond to the world happening around us, to stuff happening, by thinking. So when we're thinking about the world and we're thinking negatively, that causes a negative feeling. That feeling triggers the stress hormones, which cause you to feel the way you do and then take the kind of action that you do. And the more stress hormones we have in our body, adrenaline and cortisol, the fuller the stress bucket gets, the more you get to the point of reaching your level of tolerance. So we start off nice and relaxed, and then we feel focused and alert. Then we start to feel a little bit stressed. Then we feel a little bit overwhelmed, and then we're overflowing and we're getting the mop out. So the fuller the stress bucket gets, the less intellectual control we have. And it's kind of as simple as that. Your dominance, intellectual or emotional, gets determined by how much stress hormones you have in your body. And the higher the stress levels get, the less access you have here, because you go into survival mode. Survival mode forces you down here, where the absolute priority is to distract attention from anything else except that which is necessary to keep you survived. So having that awareness that hormones determine where you're at, when you find yourself struggling to make basic decisions, struggling to be positive, struggling to do things that you would ordinarily find easy, when you find yourself being a little bit irrational, doing things that kind of surprise you, find yourself doing things without thinking that you hadn't planned to do, when you kind of start to maybe think you're going a little bit crazy, know that the reason for that is an excess level of stress hormones. And it's simple as reducing your stress hormones. The more you reduce your stress hormones, the more you get access back to your intellectual mind. And it is biologically that simple. There are lots of things you can do, which we'll talk in another video about, to reduce your stress levels. But when you find yourself behaving like that, it's the stress levels. It's not you that's restricting your access to your intellectual mind. Manage the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, and you'll manage which part of your brain you're dominant in, making that a choice. I'm Jake from Stress Executive, helping people to spend more time in the part of the brain that they want to, and getting those kinds of results in their life, and addressing the stress to unwind the mind.